What's up, guys? It's Bart Hanson from CrushLivePoker. Today I want to take a look at that Jack 4 hand from a poker perspective and re-examine why I have always thought that Robbi was lying about the fact that she misread her hand, which I think is very, very important to look at in this particular case. Now, I just want to quickly review some news where we left off from Friday. Of course, Hustler Casino Live found one of their employees, Brian Sagbasal, stole $15,000 in chips at the end of the night from Robbi's chip stack. However, when they contacted Robbi, she declined to press charges. The next morning, she posted a message that was supposedly from Brian from Twitter, where he had DM'd her thanking her for not pressing charges and basically talking a fair amount of shit about Garrett. And it is a very suspect message because it doesn't really seem like he wrote it in my eyes, or at least he was helped to write it. There's a lot of similarities, and it's just really weird. The next day around that time, Garrett Edelstein comes out and posts up on 2+2 on NVG sort of his report as to why they were cheating. This laid everything out in a chronological order here. It didn't really bring that much new info out. I felt like that hadn't been covered by like Joey or people that were sort of paying attention. But what it did give was some of the sort of the shady and scumbag background of a lot of these sort of characters, which I think is absolutely gonna play into this whole thing. And there were some comments about my last video when I spoke about Garrett and him basically donating this money to charity. And what did that mean? Did that mean that he would never give it back? And I think maybe as I took a step back, people were saying, no, it didn't mean that. It just meant that he doesn't give a fuck about the 135. He's just going to basically donate it. One thing I will take from this, though, is there were a lot of other seasoned LA pros that told me when this came out. There's one thing that's also weird about this story is that they have never known Garrett to be wrong about anything in gambling. Like, his instincts are always on. So the fact that he sort of came out so strongly in thinking that he was cheated held a lot, and it seems to look like he's going to be vindicated. So then we move on to the next day or a couple days later, and now Robbi says that she will press charges against this guy. So first she said she wouldn't, then she posts this sort of super suspect message. Now she says she will, because people are like, why wouldn't you press charges? Who knows whether or not she's going to press charges. The whole thing is just so super contrived. But I think the number of times that she has changed her story and sort of been caught in little lies, medium-sized lies, things like that, is countless over this past week. And now I even feel more strongly about what I'm about to cover here with the Jack 3 and the Jack 4. And lastly, there's been sort of an unfortunate, I think, dive into conspiracy theories here too with the community, trying to find some things that might just not really be there. This whole thing with Billy DJAF, I don't know Billy really personally. For whatever reason, we never really played all that much together. But there are a lot of people that I know in LA that I trust nearly 100% that sort of give him a full vouch and tell me that it would be really unbelievable if he was ever involved with anything like this, because apparently he won a bunch of money out of seat 2. And people are saying that Lauren, the dealer, might be involved because she made a hand signal, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Remember, I'm open to everything. I mean, in the Postle thing, we had a situation where we had so many different hands that we could sort of parlay. Like, it was 80% chance that he wasn't cheating based upon this hand and 20% that he was. But we had so many of those hands that if you just play that out, it got close to like 100% cheating. Here, we only really have this one, maybe two hands that are suspect, but we have to sort of lean back on sort of the history and the involvement with these shady characters and the inconsistencies of the story, and then the fact that this employee from Hustler took chips off Robbi's stack, and then her first reaction wasn't to press charges, and now she's saying that she might press charges. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. But let's get to the poker part, because that's what we're all here for, right? So I want to bring up this hand, and like I said from the start, I have been saying that I never believed that Robbi misread her hand. But for people that don't understand poker, I want to go over why Jack 4, quote unquote, is an impossible call. And we come to one of two conclusions if we believe that she has Jack 4. One conclusion is she's cheating. She somehow knows the cards. The other conclusion is that she's so green to the game and such an amateur that she doesn't understand that she is behind most of Garrett's bluffs. Now, the thing about this is that if you believe that she did misread her hand, or if she had actually said, oh my God, I misread my hand when she tabled it at the time, this wouldn't even be a conversation. It's over. If you believe she misread her hand, there is no discussion. It's entirely, there's no scandal, there's no controversy, there's nothing here at all. So let's take a look here and to go through some equities. One of the things that I want to bring up here is people say, well, she's actually behind here. She's only 47% to 53%. How would she call when she's behind? Of course, she's getting pot odds here. I mean, Garrett shoved for a huge amount, but she's getting 1.5 to 1, but she only needs 40%. But the interesting thing here is that these graphics take into account the dead cards. This is the actual hand matchup with no dead cards. She's actually a slight favorite. There's no way that she would know that there's dead cards out there. But I just wanted to bring that factor up right now. Now, I've gone in and plugged in some different situations here with what we have in terms of value, some light value, all bluffs, things like that. So let's take a look at this one here. So here I have plugged in Jack 4 against a range of Garrett bet 3-betting the turn. And I would say that this is containing a fair amount of value, sort of value heavy, because some people have said, well, Garrett would never take this line. He would literally never take this line if he wasn't bluffing. So here I've put in all of the combo draws, hearts and clubs. I put in some of the ace 10, some of the ace 10 suited, some of the king 10 suited, some of the full houses. And you can see here that Jack 4 is 8%. 8% given that particular range. Now, if you don't believe that he's all that value heavy, I've sort of put in a mixed value range here where now all of a sudden I'm only giving him 1 king 10, 3 ace 10 offs, and the ace 10 suited and the king 10 suited, and one combo of 9s and 3s, and then all the bluffs. So sort of a mixed value range. She's about 14% here with Jack 4. Now here's funny. How about just all bluffs from Garrett? This is really the crux of it if you're new to poker. Jack 4 against all bluffs, meaning that no value hands from Garrett, all semi-bluffs, all draws, okay? I've put in king, queen suited, king, jack suited, queen, jack suited, queen 8, jack 7 suited of clubs and of hearts, 8, 7 suited of clubs and of hearts, and I threw in a suited ace. You can see Jack 4 is still only 25% equity against all his bluffs. And that's the thing. And that's what I was trying to bring out in the first video, which you can click on here with my example, which ended up being a chop, is that whenever you get into these situations where you're losing to most of the bluffs and basically drawing dead to any value, and you make this crazy call, and then the guy happens to have one of the two hands that you're ahead of, it looks unbelievably suspicious. Now, if she had like a hand like deuce deuce, this is deuce deuce versus his all value range here. So you can see deuce deuce is actually 25% when we're going to go over when he asked about like having a small pair. Let's say that she raised with like ace high on the turn and then decided to go with it. So ace high here on the turn against his value range, again, is about 29%. So you could easily make a case where, oh, she clicked it up with ace deuce of diamonds and then called off. How about this, though, that's interesting is that ace deuce against just his bluffs, just his semi-bluffs, is 54%. So if you were to say, oh my God, Garrett's just always bluffing here, you could very easily call here with ace deuce against his range. But even if, and again, this is the whole crux of it, he has all bluffs and you have Jack 4, you're still a 3-to-1 dog here. This is with him having no value at all. Absolutely no value. Now, let's take a look and see if we believe her and she actually had a 3. She actually thought that she had a 3. Jack 3, this is going to be pretty close to like having a pair, although slightly better because of the fact that it's counterfeit versus say like deuce deuce. But Jack 3 against sort of a heavy value range, we'll call it, is 23%. I was actually a little bit surprised by this because she needs 40% equity. But like I said, again, if she clicked up with ace deuce or with a 3 and then called off, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Against mixed value with bluffs, you can see that Jack 3 is 35%. So if you really believe that he's bluff heavy here, you can start to see it's very, very easy to make the case where if you did raise the turn, you could call off with some sort of showdown value like a pair or a ace high. And then Jack 3 against just all pure bluffs with no value, 57%. So again, if she actually thought that she had a 3, there's just no question. If you believe that she had a 3, this isn't even a controversy. But if she called here with Jack 4, which I believe that she thought she had Jack 4, it's so preposterous and so outrageous that the conclusions, like I said, there is no in between. It's either she knows what Garrett has because there's some cheating going on, or she literally can barely read the board and understand the game. And I just find that very, very hard to believe with the fact that she got some coaching and some of the other hands that she played as well. I mean, we're talking about somebody who might be playing for the first time who might think, oh, this guy's bluffing, so I'm going to call with Jack 4. So firstly, I want to take a look at this spot where Garrett actually bet 3 bets all in. She clicked it up on the turn, and now he's going to jam because he thinks that she's full of it.
There's the all-in. There's the all-in. Garrett, like I said, he's just so experienced in bet patterns, bet sizing.
So she's peeling up her cards, looking at her hand.
She sort of acted a little bit with Jack 8 of diamonds from a few rounds ago.
Now, there is a question whether she's actually looking at her hand. Another whole conspiracy theory, she's looking over at Rip, but she definitely peeled her cards out for like a good 10 seconds. Now I want to run down her responses and what exactly she said in this hand that makes me really strongly believe that she did not misread her hand here.
And then she said,
I just want to call to see it. I think he might have me though. 3's no good?
Now, obviously, the fact that she says 3 is no good suggests that she thinks that she had a 3.
This is why you shouldn't be in hands like this.
she doesn't have a 3.
At the time, I actually thought that this was a little bit of speech play, but that is something that a lot of people are bringing up. Well, she said right then and there that she had a 3. Like, obviously, she thinks that she misread her hand. But let's take a look at some other things that really move this into the other sort of category.
You do? Yikes.
Got it.
Great.
Done. Okay.
You have pocket 3?
What? No. No, I just thought he's. I'm this is a pure bluff catcher I'm dealing with right now.
With Jack high?
Purely. But
Okay, so someone said you have pocket 3. She said, no, this is a pure bluff catcher.
yeah, I don't have. I think he has to be.
Well, go to the river. The river is a 9.
That one's you for sure.
They're going to run it
Unless you have, like,
twice.
pocket 5
I
And
don't think so.
she's
You have
going
like small pair?
You give me that much credit?
So he says, unless you have pocket 5s or something like that, which means like if she got counterfeit, right? Because deuce would lose here. And she doesn't really say anything. Now, I will say that a 3 does get counterfeit in this particular spot.
You see what I've
She's
done?
good with the first one.
Let's turn him over. You're already not that
Oh. No.
If the cards are correct.
But she did say, you give me that much credit? You give me that much credit?
there.
What a sick call.
What a sick call.
And the river bricks out again.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow.
I want to see.
Even let me do
Does she have Jack 4?
She had 4 jack high.
What?
Whoa!
Look at
Whoa! What the fuck?
Whoa, look at Garrett's face.
That's some fucking poker right there.
That was sick.
Wow. That's strong.
That was sick.
Oh, shit.
That is super, super strange. You can see his reaction.
Now, this is the other thing, too, that I brought up the first time on the Joey stream in day one. It was like 4 a.m. The fact that she doesn't say immediately that I misread my hand. If you were to be put into a spot like this and you misread your hand, you would have said, oh my God, I thought I had a 3. I don't. I only have jack high. So when Garrett starts giving her these looks, again, it's a situation where if you have any knowledge of poker, you would have to be so green and such a beginner to not understand what's going on here, to not know that you should immediately say, oh my God, I thought I had a 3, but instead I have jack high, because it's fairly obvious that he thinks something's going on.
Fucking stupid.
Jacob, you look like you want to kill me. I'm not Jacob. I'm like, you look like you want to kill me,
He
Garrett.
wants to vomit.
I was not in the hand. I want to vomit.
Wow.
Again, no reference to the fact that she misread her hand at all. None. Now, I want to skip forward here to where Garrett starts to sort of interrogate her a little bit, which is something that I've never, ever seen Garrett do, because he's trying to figure out, how do you make that call? That's an impossible call.
I'm just testing it.
Yeah.
And
This
you
doesn't
keep
seem super
letting me
funny
do
to
this.
me,
And
honestly,
no,
at
like
all, but
when
how
you
much
bet,
money
when
is
you bet that like high big
Yeah.
stack, why did you go on
I don't
it
need to
twice?
say
I thought you were on ace high. Ace high.
And then so why call with jack high then?
First of all, a little bit of a straight draw. I have blockers on there.
No, on the turn though. So you called all in on the turn because.
Yeah, because you don't have shit.
That's right. She
You don't
thinks
have.
Now, at this point, if you misread your hand and you thought you had a 3, would you not say it now, right now, with what's going on? So again, it's a situation where she either did not misread her hand or she's so green to the game, such a beginner playing with Phil Ivey and Garrett with $100,000 in front of her that she doesn't know enough to say, I misread my hand. I just don't buy it. I didn't buy it in the beginning. And now with all this other stuff that's going on this week with the inconsistencies, I certainly don't buy it now.
can't be a jack high.
It's not about what I have. It's about what I don't think you have when you play against me. That's
You
it.
didn't think you had jack queen of clubs?
75.
And all the comments that person is making, right? She didn't think you had jack queen of clubs, because obviously she can't beat that. I mean, she's got the jack of clubs in her hand, but you would realize what's going on and you would say, I thought I had a 3.
You let me do this to you post stream too. Last time we played.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip forward here a couple more minutes, and this comes from 2017 and 20 seconds.
You only needed one. You thought jack high was good.
That's like some spiritual like guide from outer space.
I ran it twice because I didn't
Telling your
think Jack
ear or
High
something
could be
like,
good.
oh, like that's like.
I ran it twice because I didn't think jack high could be good. Another sort of real-time response from her, not saying that she misread her hand. Now, the whole thing about running it twice, I don't want to go too deep down into this whole thing. You can watch my Mariano video on this. There's been people that have said, well, if she knew the runouts, there's no possible way she'd be cheating because she would know that she won on run 1. Why would she run it twice? Now, maybe she doesn't know the runouts, but she just knows that she's good. If she knows that she's good, she can still run it twice. It doesn't actually change the equities at all. She just knows that she has the best hand right now. It's just a decrease of variance. The only validity to the whole argument of why would she run it twice, therefore she's not cheating, is if somehow she was cheating where she knew the actual runouts. Now, the first time that I heard the fact that she thought she misread her hand was like an hour or so later in the show when they cut to this sort of live interview.
Which is why I made the call with the 5,000 bet that he initiated. And then when the turn came, it was a 3. And you will hear me say on stream, are 3s any good? And the reason I said that is because I thought I was holding a jack of clubs and a 3 of whatever. So I thought, and I say that I think I have a bluff catcher and it's not good enough. So when Garrett shoved on me, there's multiple reasons I called that. Previous experience where I know that he's often bluffing. I also assumed in a hand that I also folded to him earlier on in the night, the same night when I thought that he was just on a draw but let him have it, that he was just on a draw, which means he did not have a made hand after the turn. And I thought that I'm holding, a blocker with the jack of flush, like jack flush draw missed and straight draw missed for me. So with a 3 as a bluff catcher sort of thing. I didn't look back at my hand to see that it was Jack 4. I ran it twice because I knew I was probably going to lose that unless, I don't know, anything better came than pocket 3s, I guess, or like not even pocket 3s, like a pair of 3s.
So that's where I think the inconsistency is, though, too, because we just saw the fact that she said she didn't think that she was going to be able to beat ace high earlier on, and now all of a sudden she's saying that she had a 3, but she never, ever makes any type of mention of it. Now, another thing that came out too, I don't even know when it came out after the fact, was, oh, well, she had Jack 3 the very, very hand before, so maybe she confused the fact that she had Jack 3 with Jack 4, and she did have Jack 3 the hand before, and she did play it. She was in the +1 position. I don't buy it, but I do want to acknowledge that she did have Jack 3. Now I want to skip over to the Joey Ingram day 1 investigation, and I'm going to go to 6 hours and 40 minutes and about 30 seconds into this.
But it puts me in a position that I know that he's potentially bluffing against me, which is why I asked to run it twice, because I knew that my Jack high was potentially not going to win over what I thought might potentially be an ace high, which was the absolute best hand that I had him on. That was the best credit I was giving him.
So again, I think an honest response, sort of accidentally. I really don't think that she thought that she had a 3. At first, from last week in the first video, I felt the same way, but I said maybe somebody told her to say that she had a 3, or maybe she was embarrassed and it makes her look better that she has a 3. And I said if she had just been straight about it, there would have been less suspicion. I always had suspicion about this little part, but now when you put together all the other inconsistencies from the week, there's just no way. There is absolutely no way. I mean, I'm 99.9%, I would say, in saying, I mean, it's my belief that she did not misread her hand. And that's why we've come to this, because it wasn't just a 3. If it was a 3, she would have turned it over. We wouldn't even be having this discussion. So I'm going to flip forward when Robbi called back for the second time on day 1. This comes from like 8 hours and 21 minutes and 50 seconds into the first Joey night.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he seemed rough up. Like I've never seen a hand like that before. You basically min raised the turn with the Jack 4, and then called off the river with Jack 4. I even if you think you're bluffing, I mean, I made some crazy calls, like you said, right? We all make crazy plays. I played millions of hands. I made a lot of really embarrassing plays that if I posted it, I would look like a fucking idiot. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. A lot of people want to hide their worst moments, and makes sense, right? I already think you're a big donk. I can understand that. So I think everybody does make moments like that too. And it sounds like what you're saying is that in this moment, like you had a read and you were like, fuck it, even if I'm losing, I still can hit a Jack, or I still can maybe
Exactly. It was
hit a 4.
completely like playing the man situation. And I feel like I'm repeating myself, which I should just probably shut off right now. And that's what it was. It was reading the man, and that's it. I played the man, not the cards. It is what it is.
Again, I mean, that is obviously ridiculous. And her whole explanation in the interview was ridiculous, which I pointed out in the first video that I did from last week, was actually, I thought, sort of in her favor, because it points to her being such a beginner. But here again, she makes no reference to the fact that she misread her hand. So there's two sort of instances here in the follow-up interview from that night. I think it was late the next morning, where she's not saying that she had a 3, and it's a lot of flip-flop. So I always suspected something was up with this hand. I just don't buy it at all. So obviously there's going to be more to this. They're continuing on with their investigation, but what just a crazy, crazy situation. And again, to sum up, I definitely lean heavily towards cheating right now. And if you were to sort of take the cheating side of this whole I misread my hand, which I think is a bunch of BS, I think is support for the fact that there was something weird going on, because anybody that's played a couple hands of poker knows that you cannot call with Jack 4 there. It just doesn't make any sense. And you most likely would have said, hey, I misread my hand, given sort of the craziness of the situation. If you want to learn more about live poker, you can check out my training site, CrushLivePoker.com. Click on the link here in the description, and I'm sure I'll have a bit more as new things come out on this situation.